Again. 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 Very good, Papa. I am very impressed with your training. You are definitely ready to face Dame.
Yeah, but I can't do this alone. I mean, you're gonna be there as a summon, right?
Oh, I would love to help you, trust me, Papa. But if we take him out together, he's gonna try to run away. I'm telling you, Papa. He wants to face you one-on-one.
I guess so. I mean, even for such a badass, that seems to be his MO. Just come, and when he sees trouble, just to run away. Not sure why, but it is what it is.
Okay, Papa. God bless you.
Hey, before you go, I have something I really want to tell you. So, I know that it's been hard for both of us these past few months, and I know that I don't show my appreciation for you. And I understand at the end of the day, you were just trying to look out for me. And it was ultimately the wrong decision to sign that contract. But I understand why you did it. And I just want to say one thing. If I don't make it all out alive today, I love you.
I love you too, Papa.
When I first played Bloodborne, I didn't know what to expect. I figured it would be just a clone of Dark Souls with nothing too crazy, mainly just a change of scenery and that was it. However, my expectations were completely blown away as this turned out to be one hell of a game. While I wish these weren't life or death circumstances, I'm still glad to be reviewing this one. Let's all get ready for the hunt because it is going to be a long night. This is Bloodborne. Cue the montage. As expected, you create your character when starting up a new game. As always, you will be able to choose your background. When doing so, you'll notice immediately that there aren't as many attributes to level up as in the Dark Souls games. While some may see this as a dumbing down of RPG elements, I actually preferred this more streamlined approach. I had to spend less time just to get some stats or some numbers a certain way just to equip a weapon. Granted, there still is some grinding involved, but it's not as intense. And since we are talking about grinding, we can talk about how you level up. Instead of souls from enemies, you collect blood echoes. Once again, you'll need to talk to someone to do this for you. In this case, it'll be this doll who comes alive after certain events. Leveling up weapons goes through the same process of finding new materials to improve them. However, there's a whole new system involving blood gems. When these gems are found, they can be augmented onto your weapons. The ones you'll find earlier will be a slight increase in damage, but others can change your weapon to require less stamina per swing, and even some to change its elemental properties. The cool thing too is that these gems can be replaced for better and rarer gems down the line, so there's a lot of build flexibility here, although I kinda know why this was done. The amount of weapons in this game is far lower compared to Dark Souls, even if you include the Hold Hunters DLC. In the beginning of the game, you can pick from one of 3 starting weapons. Honestly, 2 of these can last you the whole game if you choose to do so without ever needing to switch to another. However, I don't recommend you to do this as each weapon provides incredible versatility. Quality over quantity. For example, the weapon I chose to be my starting weapon is the iconic saw Cleaver. What I like to do is start out in its normal saw form, then after striking first, perform a switch attack to change it into a cleaver. This does incredible damage and provides more range for my next attack. It's this kind of experimentation I love about these trick weapons that leads to some awesome combos. Along with the trick weapons that I just mentioned, guns have also been thrown into the mix. While you can put a lot of points to make your guns your go-to or get trick weapons to specialize in this, it's better to be used as a counter. Timing a shot perfectly will stun your opponent, leaving them vulnerable for a critical strike. Speaking of critical strikes, backstabs work far differently now. You'll need to now charge up a strong attack behind the enemy, then once the enemy is stunned, you can backstab them with a weak attack. It took me a while to get used to this, but it works wonders in many situations. Movement is also much more fluid compared to the first two Souls games. When locked onto an enemy, you will quick step when dodging instead of rolling. You'll cover a shorter distance, but this allows for much more agility when fighting. However, you can still roll away if you unlock from the enemy. Estus flasks are also no longer a thing. You no longer can replenish them by visiting a bonfire, or in this world, a lamp. Instead, you'll need to rely on blood packs, which can be found from enemy drops or from the world. You can carry 20 at a time, which while some enemies may need it, filling up on blood packs can make some boss fights trivial, especially with the right build.
All these changes that I've just mentioned definitely give Bloodborne its own identity, which I am thankful for because I was very worried this was just going to be a direct one-to-one clone.
But man, can we talk about the boss fights? Cause these are awesome as hell. Many of the beasts you run across have their own unique design as well as weak points to discover. These can be incredibly challenging but always satisfying when you finally defeat them. Although screw this boss, it can go straight to hell. However, my favorite boss fights are against other hunters. These are so fast and fluid, analyzing your opponent's movesets and countering accordingly. Everyone knows Father Gascone, but there are a ton more that I can't get into for spoiler reasons.
As good as the enemy variety is, many of them are weak to fire, so a well-placed Molotov or adding fire to a weapon is very advantageous. But enough about the combat and enemies and all that. Let's get into the other things that make up a Souls game.
Graphically and aesthetically, this game looks freaking phenomenal. It just seems like with every Souls game made by From Software, the production values increase exponentially. The only issue I have personally is the frame rate. This being on a PS4 instead of a PC, the game is locked at 30 frames per second. Since I usually play the Souls series on PC, it took some time for me to adjust. It also doesn't help that the motion blur is a bit too exaggerated this time around.
And guys, I'm not trying to start a console versus PC war, I'm just stating the facts here.
Speaking of the frame rate, I did have a few dips during certain encounters. While it wasn't very frequent, it was enough to be worth mentioning. For the record, I am using a PS4 Pro, so this might be an even bigger issue on the original.
Also, if you guys have any PS4 games that you would like me to review, please let me know in the comments below. Assuming that I stay alive after this fight.
Music wise, nothing short of fan-freaking-tastic. While it does retain the orchestral vibes from the Souls games, it adds its own unique flair with violins and other similar instruments thrown into the mix to give it more of a Victorian era vibe. It sounds awesome and is literally the perfect soundtrack to this game. The story is presented very similarly to Dark Souls, with much of it being told through piecing together dialogue and figuring out what it all means. When it comes to ambiguity, it's even more so here than in Dark Souls. With Dark Souls being a trilogy, it's easy to see elements return and piece the puzzle that way. With Bloodborne, it's a whole new universe that is even more shrouded in mystery.
This isn't a bad thing, as similar to the Souls games, you can be as involved with the story as you want. Get this out of here. I'm not doing subtitles again.
In terms of level design, Bloodborne returns to the original Dark Souls philosophy of having one lamp with many interconnected paths. The game definitely rewards your exploration with blood gems and some badges that can get you access to new weapons and even some cool armor.
Although when this game opens up, it can be very confusing on where you're supposed to go. To be honest, I needed a walkthrough during my first playthrough, so if you use it, I'm not judging.
Also, for some reason, the lamps will bring you back to the Hunter's Dream, but you can't fast travel between them like in previous Souls games. Not sure why it was done like that, but it's a bit tedious having to go back to the Hunter's Dream just to select the place you actually want to go to. Armor works a bit differently here as there is no longer any weight attached to it. In addition, it cannot be upgraded like in Dark Souls 1 or 2. While armor is still useful, I found it to be more of a specialization as each armor set is better against certain kind of enemies. It won't necessarily make the fights easier, but the right set can provide some much needed resistance. Also, armor doesn't really provide poise, although you still can poise through attacks. This depends mainly on your weapon and the kind of attack you're using. As with any game of this style, dying is part of the learning experience. The good news is that you don't have to worry about replenishing your humanity or anything like that. You are reborn with full health, although you still need to recapture your blood echoes. This time, however, your blood echoes can end up on an enemy that needs to be defeated. it. It's a nice twist to the formula that isn't just a speed run to get your lost experience. I mean, I guess you do have something similar to humanity in the form of insight, although it works completely differently here. You gain insight from encountering bosses, killing bosses, and from some consumables. This does a number of things, but the most important is the ability to call in a hunter, aka a summon.
By the way, if you end up summoning a character and they have this as their weapon, they're not going to do much damage. They're just going to serve as meat shields. But enough about this. Let's talk about what I really want to talk about, and that is the chalice dungeons. Oh boy.
This is honestly my favorite feature about this game. Basically, these are procedurally generated dungeons. These can be accessed after finding a chalice and performing a ritual at a tombstone with the right materials. You can find more chalices featuring different layouts, enemies, summons, etc., not found in the base game. This offers so much damn replay value that every time I replay the game, I want to dive right back into it as soon as possible. These might not be too bad difficulty-wise at first, but trust me, it gets hard once you get to death level 3.
If they ever make a Bloodborne 2, I really want this to be expanded upon. Honestly, why hasn't there been a game like this, some sort of indie game like this? And I don't mean a 2D one, I mean like a 3D one.
Just a quick comment about the multiplayer. I wasn't able to test it since I was playing this game on offline mode, but from what I can gather, many of the features found in Dark Souls have carried over in terms of invasions, summons, and leaving random cryptic messages. As you already know, I recommend the hell out of this game. The combat is familiar yet fresh, the production values are top notch, and the Chalice Dungeons provide so much post-game content. It's a shame that this has remained a PS4 exclusive, as I would love to have seen this on the PC and have more people experience the hunt.
Alright, so I'm ready for the battle, but I'm just gonna make one quick adjustment. Alright, I'm not sure what's gonna trigger it. I mean, usually I would walk into like 5. This is gonna be easy. Oh.